this is your host, Toasty Critic, and welcome to the further adventures of all things fake news, that is. While we consider ourselves the masters of all fake stories when it came to the history of food, we figured branching out of the ever-widening gulf of fake news out there, as the chef Emerald Glassy once quipped, would kick it up a notch. Because what could be better than learning about the vast plethora of fake news items out there? So this week, we here at The Guide present to you the Single Dad's Guide to Fake News, Volume 3. Without delving too deeply into the woods, if this is your first venture to our world of crazy stories, let me give you an example of what we do. I can take the story, Kanye West gets close to Donald Trump, and blow it up with a headline something like, Kanye and the Donald, Reincarnated Dragons. Of course, the news story is totally fake, but it gleans quotes from a legit news source to poke fun at everything and hopefully make you laugh a little, because if we cannot laugh at ourselves, the world has become a dark place indeed. Eventually, I hope I won't need this disclaimer, except maybe something small at the end, but for now, as I build up a following for the best source of fake news on the planet, I need to make sure I don't have someone bringing a shotgun to a pizza parlor, and that means you, or trying to get blood samples of Kanye West, or even Charlie Sheen, for that matter. But as jokes with too much explanation lose their luster, I am going to end this by saying hi, and welcome to the Single Dad's Guide to Fake News, Volume 3. Number 1. Lex Luthor outlives both Superman and Lois Lane in a late bid to take over the world. One of my favorite movies of childhood was The Tale of Superman, with Christopher Reeve as the Man of Steel, whose trip to Earth did not come without its hardships. First there were evil villain Mastermans, bent on changing the map of the United States. And then there were 3 people with godlike abilities, set to transform the planet into something unrecognizable. I don't recognize part 3 or 4 or the ridiculous Barbie Superman edition as real parts of the series. Well, it appears with the passing of Lois Lane, Margot Kidder, Lex Luthor, Gene Hackman, has truly won out in the end. Of course, what he's going to do to take over the world at the ripe old age of 88 is anyone's guess. But let me know if you hear anything and we'll publish it here first. Number 2. Superman's best friend is a sex cult leader. Okay, I really wish this weren't true. I just had my daughter watching all 10 seasons of Smallville with me a little over a year ago, and one of our favorite characters on the show was that of Chloe Sullivan, played by Allison Mack. She was the intrepid reporter who ultimately had Clark's back no matter what. Of course, her character did turn a bit dark at the end. I just had no clue how dark the character was in real life. Evidently, Allison Mack decided it would be a good idea to have a hobby outside of the Smallville universe, and answered the ad for sex cult leader. Okay, maybe she wasn't quite the leader? Maybe she was just a recruiter, like recruiter for a football team. As details emerge about the cult, from branding to strange allergies to garlic, it's hard to think of watching Smallville ever again. Just another in the long line of movies and TV shows contaminated by ugly abuse allegations and ruined for future watching. Ugh. Number 3. The Donald takes on all challengers. A tornado responds. Donald Trump seems to be challenging all comers these days in his path to make America great again. Whether it be fake news, how dare you challenge us, Mr. Trump, the mainstream media, the Palestinians, or Rocket Man, that Donald doesn't want to back down from a fight. It's seen as weakness, so he challenges all comers to who would dare stand in his way. But evidently, he and Kanye West share dragon blood, or breath, or energy, or something anyway. Who dares take on the Donald? Evidently, a tornado headed straight for DC has decided it will be the next in a series of challengers to take him on. Will the Donald take down the tornado with a figure 4 leg lock, or will it get body slammed to the pavement? Only time will tell. Number 4. Pennsylvania believes shame is the best motivator. Leaving aside whether giving out your name and information to other neighbors is ethically legal, a group in Pennsylvania decided shame is the best method to get people to vote. They're sending out mailers threatening to tell your neighbors if you participated in the 2018 primary or not. And they listed some of your apparent neighbors. Of course, when an independent effort to verify the information cropped up, they determined some of the information was about neighbors from distant counties, grossly enlarging the definition of what it meant to be a neighbor. Maybe the information on the brochure wasn't exactly legitimate. They listed 2016's primary with the wrong dates. But could and should we be knowing about what our neighbors are doing when it comes to voting? And can't not voting also be a sign of protest about the kinds of candidates the parties are giving us? Hopefully, it's just all a hoax, but it begins to make someone wonder.
Number 5.
A dog turns out to be unbearably cute. Duh. Okay, maybe it's not quite as it seems, but then again, neither was the dog for this Chinese family. Evidently, they didn't quickly figure out how this wee pup eventually got taller than a man with claws that can tear into them. I know that they have clippers for cat's claws, but I don't think you're going to trim this animal's claws, and you certainly aren't going to declaw them without serious consequences to you. It took 2 years for the dog to start walking on its hind legs before the family realized, while you can't teach an old dog new tricks, a bear might learn a few along the way. Oh, and maybe a box of fruit and 2 buckets of noodles per day were a clue as well. Thankfully, the bear has a new home in the Yunnan Wildlife Rescue Center. Number 6. Rupert Murdoch canceled the apocalypse. The devil thanked his fans and went home quietly. Contrary to the Lucifer of the Bible, Fox will be canceling the latest in less than family affair. Okay, TV has gone sideways and upside down in the last several years, trying to do anything it can to garner a smaller and smaller piece of a more fractured audience. The networks still rule the roost, but that has shrunk a lot since cable, Netflix, Prime, and Hulu. So they decided to greenlight shows like Lucifer for the shock value as much as anything else. I honestly have no opinion about the show either way, but I can say the star of the show, Tom Ellis, thanked his fans for the wonderful experience. Next up for Tom, The Antichrist, followed by his memoir, Dr. Love Lucy, or How I Stopped Worrying and Learned to Love the Lake of Fire. Number 7. Seattle taxes the Amazonians. Wonder Woman is not pleased. As you can see, the articles this week have a superhero theme to them, but honestly, neither Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot, or Linda Carter had much to say about any of this, from what we know. I suppose it's possible they are picketing outside of the Seattle Capitol right now, but I doubt it. What really happened was the community of Seattle thought it was in their best interest to send people south to their neighboring state of Oregon, or possibly be future residents of the state of Jefferson, which at this point is more of a state of mind than anything else. So they went about taxing the businesses per worker. Why would Amazon stay in the community if it were going to charge per person they hired? Maybe they can absorb the cost, but I'm guessing many small businesses won't, considering expanding with this in mind, if they can stay in business at all. Number 8. Baseball player decides he wants to make himself run for the restroom before Taco Bell makes him. When it comes to running to the restroom, players in baseball have done it for the past 20 years better than any other sport. Whether it be giving themselves performance-enhancing drugs, or giving themselves a diuretic to mask the performance-enhancing drugs, they enjoy the confines of a sink and a toilet. Whatever the case, Robinson Cano, formerly of the Yankees during the time of Alex Rodriguez and Eddie Pettit, both performance-enhancing drug users, has taken his drug show on the road to Seattle, where he's in the midst of a 10-year deal. I guess with him turning 35 and worrying about skills in decline, he decided the diuretic would give him that extra pep in his step at the plate. Regardless, he won't be playing baseball for much of the rest of the season, dashing Seattle's hopes of making the playoffs. I guess that's why the city government decided to levy the tax hike, to make themselves feel better about something. Number 9. Kim Jong-un finally found a drill he didn't like. When it comes to drills, no one likes doing them more than Kim Jong-un. He prides himself on having all the best drills. Whether those mean power tools or not, no one can quite say. What you can say is he never had a military exercise he didn't like. Check out all the pomp and circumstance he has for his country all the time. I guess he wants to prove he has all the best muscles, too. Military muscle, that is. Unfortunately for the neighbors south of the border, Mr. Jong-un doesn't like it when they do a combined military exercise with South Korea and the Americans. He has postponed talks with the South Koreans about reunification indefinitely, or until he remembers that actually he doesn't have all the best muscles. How you convince him of that, the guy cannot say. What we can say is maybe Kim Jong-un should participate in the next bit of news we have as... Number 10. Rubber duckies invade the West Coast. Next stop, Disneyland. The guide ran out to Huntington Beach Pier to find out all about the goings-on this May 19th as Ultimate has its annual duckathon, raising funds for dental work for people who are uninsured or underinsured. When interviewing Patch-Eye Duck, he said he was taking his flock of rubber ducks to Disneyland. No other duck would give us a comment. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Single Dad's Guide to Fake News. We appreciate your questions, comments, or suggestions here below. If you have any idea for fake news story, submit it here in the comment section or shoot me an email. Any idea which gets used in the blog will get a follow link and a mention in the next post. Thanks for stopping by once again. This is your host, Toasty Critics, signing off. And stay safe until next week before the real news drives you insane.